So we already talked about how subclass inherits methods from superclass. Superclass's method will be inherited and subclass can use that without any modification. However, sometimes subclass do need to make some change to the way that superclass behave. For example, all dogs bark, but apparently the way Chihuahua barks is different from the way German Shepherd barks, right? So a subclass may have a method with the same name, same signature, same signature, meaning same name and the same parameter data type list as the superclass. The subclass method, in this case, with the same signature, will override the superclass method. This is known as method overriding. An example is grade activity. Let's bring up grade activity. Curve the grade activity. And the curved activity demo. So curved activity has a set score override. We will talk about this override, this modifier later on, this decorator later on. But basically, grade activity has a set score, curve activity has a raw score and a set score with a percentage. Right, so this is a curved activity. It has a set score double, which has it's the same signature as the parent class's set score double. But when you call a curve, when you create a new curve activity and you call set score, you are actually calling the curve activity set score. When there are two different methods with the same signature, one in superclass and one in subclass, Java will always try to execute the subclass, the closest method. The closest in this case is curved activities set score. But if you create a graded activity that is not a curved activity, of course, Java Virtual Machine will go to the original, the superclass curved set score, because there's no subclass existing. But once there is a subclass, Java Virtual Machine will go to the closest, the nearest method that it can find, nearest signature it can find. So like in this here, curve activity, you have this set score double, set score double. This is overriding. Remember, the method signature consists of the method's name and the data type list of the parameters in order that they appear. A subclass method that overrides the superclass method must have the same signature as the superclass method. And this is a difference between overriding and overloading. Overloading, remember, overloading means you are loading multiple versions. That's why it's called overload. You are not conflicting with each other. They have different signature. They have a different signature in the same class. Whereas overriding is a rewriting, think about the name. Overriding means you take over. The subclass take over. It's different class, same signature. Different class, same signature is overriding. You use the same signature to override. Whereas overload means loading multiple times. It's a same class, multiple signature. An object of the subclass invokes the subclass version of the method, not the superclass. The override annotation should be used just before the class method declaration. This causes the compiler to display an error message if the method failed to correctly override a method in the superclass. So this override annotation tells compiler, I'm ready to override superclass's method. If you make a mistake, if you, instead of a double, put an int here, you will see an error because by using override annotation, you are telling compiler, I'm going to override, but there's nothing to override. The method set score must be override, right? So override is a notification to the compiler on what you are going to do next. In the next few lines. It's not going to affect Java virtual machine execution. You don't need to have it. If you don't have it, the code will just run just fine. But it's better to have this annotation to let compiler help you checking stuff. And subclass method can call overridden superclass method via the super key. If you still want to call a superclass method, you can use the super.setScore, such as here. After you reset the raw score, you are calling the original set score, just with a little bit of modification. So there's a distinction between overloading a method and overriding. We covered this. Overloading is when a method has same name, but with different signature. When the method overrides another one, they both have the same signature, right? So overrides, same signature, different class. Overloading, same name, same class, different signature. Both overloading and override can take place in one inheritance relationship. Overriding can only take place in the inherited relationship. So this can be confusing. So we will use a lab to help you understand better. But here, let's see subclass 3 and superclass 3. And superclass 3, as simple as that, show value. Within superclass, show value int, show value string. These are two different signatures. And this is, I'll pause 5 seconds for you to think what it is. The answer is this is overriding. You have the same signature, same class, different signature. This is overloading. This is overloading. And inside a subclass, you also have two show values. And unfortunately here we have an override. So you know this is overriding. You are overriding this method in superclass with the same signature. So your overriding happens between the subclass and superclass. But within subclass, you have two show value methods with the same name but different signature. This is overloading. And it says the method overloads. Actually, this is not correct. It should be overrides. Overrides a superclass method, but overloads the method show value method in the same class. Or let me be more specific in subclass 3. Right? So this is the subclass. This is overriding. Now, sometimes you may not want your method being overridden, especially when you are offering a commercial product. You don't want people to change your behavior, your class behavior, and this can be a liability issue. So, you want to prevent that method from being overridden. In this case, you add the final modifier, which will prevent the overriding of a superclass method. If a subclass attempts to override a final method, the compiler generates an error. This ensures that a particular superclass method is used by a subclass rather than a modified version. There's also some, we talked about public, we talk about private. There's also a keyword access modifier called protected. Protected member of the class may be accessed by methods in a subclass and by method in the same package. Remember, the public method can be accessed by every class. Private can only be accessed by the same class. Only the method within same class can access private members. Protected offer something in between. It may be accessed by method in the subclass and by class in the same package. A protected members access is somehow between private and public. Now, using protected instead of private makes some tasks easier. However, any class is derived from class is in the same package has unrestricted access to the protected member. So do not use it. This is another example of Java's powerful features, how you should restrict the power of Java. Java does offer you this protected functionality, but just try to stay away from it. It's always better to make all fields private and then provide public method for accessing. It will make you writing more code, but in the long run, it's worth the effort. If no access modifier is provided, the class member is called package access. Any access method in the same package may access the member. Now let's quickly see. What's the difference between, I think most people, students always understand the difference between private and public. Public and private, these two are simple. Yes, no, it's always yes, no. Now, what's the difference between default and the protected? In the default situation, access from the same package inside the same package is yes and yes for a subclass or any other class. Same is protected. The difference is when the subclass is outside of the package. This is important when you use classes from other package. When there's no default modifier, all other classes from outside of the package cannot access the default members. But protected, note here, this is a yes. A subclass outside the package can still access the protected member of a superclass. For this reason, it's still possible for external subclass to modify your code. So to modify your data, that's why we always say, try not to use try not to use protected.